So it's a big day around here. Today, Petunia and Mabel are moving on, and that's not a euphemism. They're not moving on to the freezer. Sorry, vegetarians. They are moving on to our friend's field. He is going to take them. We don't have the grass, and Petunia really needs to get pregnant again. We've been milking her for 15 months, and dairy cows need to be put in calf about every year to keep their milk production up. Mabel is also a bit too much cow for us.
Yes. And Petunia is also a bit nosy, so it can get a bit annoying, but we all really love her.
Are we talking about the cow?
Yeah. We are actually getting a new Jersey. We don't know what she looks like or what she is like.
Yeah, so under our tenancy, we can only have 2 cows on site at any time. So we can only have 1 cow and a calf at foot. And you can tell Mabel is a bit bigger than a calf at foot. So she really needs to go to a better field, a bigger field, where there is more grass. We're not having to feed as much hay, and Petunia needs to go get knocked up.
Just stand there and weird. Bye, guys. Bye.
So we've had Honey for 3 weeks, and in that time she has been an amazing addition to the farm. She is a very different nature than Petunia. She is a lot quieter, although she is bellowing now because she knows it's time for milking, and she is a lot more compliant. Petunia would bolt all the time. She would decide that she was done with milking and go. She would not let down milk for me. She had to be pretty full for me to be able to milk her, and she generally was a pain in the backside. And while that's not the only reason that we were going to move her on, she had been milked for 15 months and we needed a new milker. So Honey has come to us from a commercial dairy. She was a nurse cow, so what that means is she, I'm just loading up hay while I talk to you. She was used to suckle calves and for hand milking for calves that needed some extra milk. And she is 8 years old, so she's a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and she has a very sweet nature. She likes her people. She does not like the goats. And generally speaking, it's been a much more positive experience of milking her than it ever was with Petunia. Now, there's a couple of things. So she arrived to us and the calves had been taken off of her a few days before we could get her. So that meant that she had started to dry up. Now she's a big dairy, a big Jersey. Oh, somebody didn't cut that. I'm trying to load hay and talk and I shouldn't. Yeah, so she had started to dry up. When we got her the first day, we got about 1.5 liters of milk. So that's not worth milking a cow for. For a goat, maybe that might be worth milking still, but for a cow, that's just a lot of effort, a lot of feed for a lot of nothing. So over the last 3 weeks, we've worked religiously to get her milk supply up. We have been milking up until a couple days ago, 3 times a day. Well, the first week we actually milked 4 times a day, and we fed her loads, and we made sure she was really comfortable, gave her lots of water. Now, all of those things we would do anyway, but just with that special effort, special intention of making sure that she was producing enough. Through our efforts, she is now actually up to about 7 or 8, an escaped chicken, 7 or 8 liters a day, which is plenty for us. So we are making lots of cheese, lots of butter, and drinking lots of milk. We are pretty much self-sufficient in dairy again. Petunia was giving about 4 or 5 liters a day, but Petunia also had a much lower cream line. Honey has an excellent cream line. It is incredible, and that means that we're able to produce a lot more when we make cheese. The only thing that we're not self-sufficient in is butter, and that's because we're making so much cheese at the moment. And I'm sure that that will balance out as we go through. All right, I've left it too long. I need to go feed that girl. She is hollering. She knows I'm coming with food. So one of the things about Honey is that she is a lot dirtier than Petunia. So we have to spend quite a bit of time every morning washing her udders. We are milking her through a muslin, and that's because she's quite a dirty cow, and that just keeps any sort of debris out of the milk. We still filter it when we get it back in, but it really helps keep the milk clean and sanitary. Last bits of milk, kind of when you're wringing out the udder, are really important because that's where a lot of the cream is. So I always spend a long time just really going over and over the udders, particularly as we're still trying to build up our milk supply, or at least stop it from going down. So you can see how much debris we collected from the cow, just having that muslin over it really makes a big difference to how clean the milk is. So while I was obviously worried when Honey arrived to us with such a low milk supply, actually it's worked out really well. So you may remember that a few years ago I broke both of my arms. It was two separate accidents, unrelated, where I broke one elbow and then the other wrist. And up until really this winter, I haven't been able to use them like I had been. I struggled to knit, struggled to do a lot of the sort of basic things, and then also struggled to milk. And having Honey go from, about 700 milliliters of milking to what is now about 3 liters, 4 liters of milking is a really good training for my wrist. So I've been able to build up slowly. I can now milk about 4 liters in 15 minutes, which is pretty good. And I'm able to take over some of the milking. Three weeks of Honey, and it's been great. She is so much nicer than Petunia. Petunia would never let down her milk for me. Petunia was always bolting. I didn't particularly care for her as a cow, although she was a fine milker. Now, having the experience of Honey, an older cow, quite a sweet temperament, although she does really hate the goats and Loretta. It's just generally a joy to have. We're getting lots of milk, lots of cheese, and lots of cream, and I'm about to go skim some of that glorious cream for butter.